Welcome to Politics Talk. We thank you for joining us this Monday, September 19th, 2022, our fall premiere. We've been excited to rejoin everyone after a very long but busy summer. Hopefully, everyone has been having a wonderful, pleasant summer season with lots of sunshine. It's been hot. It's been very nice. I've done some traveling with the family, and there's been but there have been some trials as well. But we are thankful to the Lord that He is bringing us through, bringing my family and I through nicely. So we thank God for that. So again, I'm Eric. I'm your host here at Politics Talk. We are excited to be with you for another fall season of riveting shows, of very strong opinions about news, sports, politics, also to deal with the economy, religion, social justice, sort of all that rolled up into one. And then also at the we'll come to a point of the show where there's like an intersection. Well, I'll take what's happening in sports and politics and talk about how they intersect with each other, and how what's happening in the news or in sports is not just affecting news or sports, but it's affecting other aspects of our society as well. And then I will issue a challenge at the end. And so the goal of this show, or the aim of the show, is to talk about what's going on in the world of sports, of news, sports, and politics, with the hope that and I'll talk about how they relate to other aspects of our society, with the hope that once we know better and we understand how things are working, then it will cause us to vote better, be better people, better Christians. It'll cause us to want to treat people better, become better citizens overall. So that's the goal of the show. I do not know everything, nor do I profess to, but I seek to understand what's happening in our society so that we can become agents of change that will bring forth equality with all of us in our community. So we thank you for joining us. You can reach me if you have any questions, Eric at SpoliticsTalk.com. That's Eric at SpoliticsTalk.com. We're also on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So please click the share, like, follow, subscribe button. Comment if you have any comments about any of our shows. All of our shows we've ever done is on YouTube. I think we've done over 70 shows so far. We're thankful for that. Looking forward to many, many more. Looking forward to adding some new things to the show as well as we go forward. So we thank you for joining us today. So let's dive right in. Of course, there's been a lot of news over the summer. But what's happening right now in terms of what's newsworthy is obviously Queen Elizabeth's services were held today. She was a phenomenal woman. And revered by many in the world, certainly in our country, and my prayers and thoughts goes out to her family and her nation. That she served for over 70 years. That is quite amazing. 96 years young is how long she was blessed to be on this earth, and that's a full life, folks. She lived a full life. She made a difference in this world, but also there was some controversy. And here's what I would say: as much as I am sorrowful about the loss to her family and her country, we also know that there were some race issues as well in terms of with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is an African American female, okay, but also with the treatment of African American with people of color in that country. And so it's so no one's perfect. The Queen's not perfect. I'm far from perfect. So there weren't without some difficulties and some travails. But however, she reigned, and I believe her heart was to make the world a better place. I don't believe she was a bad person at all. I think anyone that can serve that long and be able to reign and be able to impact the lives of as many people as she did, that's pretty impressive. So again, our prayers, our thoughts, our well wishes go out to those people in England and in Scotland and in Ireland. We pray, Lord, that they will be able to help them to grieve the loss of their monarch. And of course, King Charles takes over as king. and then Prince William, who now is now Prince William, he's the heir to the throne. So it's the firstborn in the lineage. Okay, so Charles was the firstborn. Queen Elizabeth had he had I think 3 sons and a daughter, but it's the firstborn Charles. Okay, so he becomes king, and then the next in line of succession is Charles's firstborn, which is William, and then after that is William and Kate Middleton's firstborn. So that's the line of succession to the throne of England. Moving on, midterm elections are fast approaching. It's interesting because when we look at the midterm elections and the reports were that the Republicans would just sweep through and just wipe the floor with the Democrats, which is what typically happens whenever there's when one party has the White House, the House, and the Senate. There typically is a wave that comes through where there's some discontentment. Of course, there's been inflation. Gas prices got up to over $5 a gallon, at least here where I live in California and other parts, much higher than that. I know the cost of rent to rent a house or an apartment is just through the roof. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how some people are making it. I'm really not. It is really a challenge out there with what's going on. But of course, they overturned Roe versus Wade back earlier this year. We were off on sabbatical when that happened, but now with a series of legislative wins by President Biden, and also Roe v. Wade being overturned in some primaries, like in Kansas, a very red state. The Republicans didn't do as well, and it turns out that the abortion issue was a key contributor to that. Okay, so I'll say that a series of legislative wins by President Biden, as well as Roe v. Wade, and gas prices have fallen now for over 80 straight days. So now I'm seeing gas in the low 330s, which is great compared to what it was back during the summer. But right now, inflation is still running at over 8%. We like to see it down around 3%. Groceries are much more expensive. Everything's pretty much more expensive than what it was. The Fed is scheduled to meet this week. We will see if they will raise interest rates. They've raised interest rates by three quarters of a point the last 2 times. The concern is with the interest rates being raised, will that push this country into a recession? So I think when you look at what's causing this inflation, when we look at the global pandemic, which affected the global economy, okay, supply chains, automakers are still waiting on computer chips to be able to make vehicles. There are vehicles that are backlogged, everything, TVs. When you go into stores, there's still a lot of bare shelves because supply chains have been messed up. What's happening with the war in Ukraine with Russia? Okay, because of the fuel that Russia supplies to a large percentage of the world. So in the blockade of blocking grain coming out of Ukraine, that's what it runs, grain from coming out of Ukraine. I promise you, I didn't mean to do that, but it just sort of happened. So a lot of things are contributing to this global pandemic. Okay. And so, President Biden and Kamala Harris, they've added millions of jobs. His administration millions of jobs to the economy, which is a great thing. And so it's things are we are in some unseen times that we've never experienced before. Okay, but we will see with the midterm elections. My guess is Republicans are likely to still take the House, but not by as many as they thought. I think the Democrats will hold on to the Senate. I mean, this race down in Georgia with Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. I mean, of course, Herschel Walker is the handpicked selection by Donald Trump as the Republican challenger to Raphael Warnock, and Herschel Walker is the gift that keeps on giving. Although I will tell you that Raphael Warnock is running ahead of Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is running against Brian Kemp for governor. Warnock seems to be more of a middle of the road politician that's causing him to poll better. I think he wins. I think the Democrats hold on to the Senate. But I think that, and I'm hoping that that they don't, but they looks like they may lose the House. So we will see what happens there. And this is sort of what I would talk about here at the intersection. Of course, former President Donald Trump, where the FBI raided his Mar-a-Lago home and seized many documents that were top secret. Some so top secret that only a handful of people in the world ever get to view these documents. And now he is gone and requested a special master, which was granted by a Trump-appointed federal judge, and I think the Department of Justice, they're appealing, but that's just a mess. And I'll get into more of that at the intersection. Okay, in terms of and I'm sorry, the title of today's show is called Above the Law. Above the Law. So we'll talk more about that at the intersection. Let's get into some sports. A lot going on in sports right now. Let's start with baseball. Aaron Judge Aaron Judge and Albert Pujols. Aaron Judge on the verge of baseball immortality. I hit two dingers yesterday against the Milwaukee Brewers, and I think with less than 20 games to go, Aaron Judge is only 2 away from Roger Maris, which will be the American League home run record. Now there's some dispute about Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and McGwire in terms of. Sammy Sosa had 66, years ago, and I think McGwire had 70 or something like that, and then Bonds came along, broke the all-time record, what have you. But clearly, Aaron Judge, that would be phenomenal. And I think the New York Yankees are going to thoroughly regret not signing him to a long-term deal during the year, because he will become an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. I think they will live to regret that. Significantly, but he's also challenging. He's 1/100th of a percentage point from challenging for the Triple Crown. So not only is Aaron Judge leading the American League in RBIs and home runs, but he's hitting for average, and he has an OPS of nearly 1,600. That hasn't been done. That'll be the highest since they started tracking OPS, which is impressive. So. My hat's off. I'm an Aaron Judge fan. I watch the Yankees because of Aaron Judge. He's carried them, and I hope he remains a Yankee at the end of this year. So I'm going to give my top 3 teams in the American League and the top 3 in the National League in terms of who I think are the three best in each league. In the American League, number 3, I have the New York Yankees. They've struggled with injuries all year long. I think that they have when everybody's healthy, pitching and hitting, they could be formidable. They don't have enough speed on the bases to make a deep run, but I still think they're the 3rd best team in the American League. The 2nd best team I have in the American League, I have the Yankees 2nd. I apologize. I have for 3rd in the American League. Who do I have? I'll just go top 2. I'm sorry. I'll just have the top 2. So I have the New York Yankees and then the Houston Astros. Those are the 2 best teams in the American League. In the National League, I'll go the top 3. I have the New York Mets. Number 3, they have the defending World Series champions, Atlanta Braves. Number 2, although there's lost Albies for the rest of the regular season. We'll see how that if he's able to return in the postseason. Then I have the Los Angeles Dodgers. So that the Los Angeles Dodgers over 100 wins. They're far and away hitting, pitching, defense, you name it, they have it all. Let's go into some college football. Before I get into college football, let me send a shout out to the Las Vegas Aces, WNBA team, who have won their first WNBA championship. So congratulations, Lady Aces, for winning the chip. They won that series 3-1 over the Connecticut Sun. So congratulations to them. So as we go into college football, it's been exciting. But clearly the preseason polls that those folks didn't get it right. Notre Dame has lost their first 2. They've dropped out of the top 25. Texas A&M loses to the App State. App State, nobody wants to play App State anymore. The Power 5 teams, they want to avoid Appalachian State like the plague. Okay, Appalachian State they've had some kind of run so far. The first game against North Carolina, where they were way behind in the fourth quarter, scored over 40 points in the fourth quarter, still lose that game. but they go into Texas A&M, beat Texas A&M, and then they just win on a Hail Mary, okay, against I forget who they played this past Saturday, but App State is something serious. Ohio State, Georgia. To me, those two teams have separated themselves from everybody else. It's Georgia, it's Ohio State, then Alabama, sort of a half rung below that, then it's everybody else. It's crystal clear. Georgia looks better to me offensively than they did last year. Ohio State looks better defensively. Okay, we'll see. They get Wisconsin this weekend. We're going to see what if Ohio State's defense can be at least 50% better than what it was last year in terms of all the metrics. I think they could challenge Georgia to win it all this year, but we will see. I believe Georgia and Ohio State are on a collision course. Upsets. There's been upsets galore. Notre Dame being upset at home by Marshall. Okay, almost and they almost lost to Cal at home, but there have been upsets galore. Okay, and so we will see as the season goes forward with that. So here's my top. Herm Edwards, the coach at Arizona State, was let go after losing to Eastern Michigan. Apparently, there's been a lot of turnover in terms of staffing there. There's been turmoil, NCAA investigation. I like Herm Edwards. I just think Herm Edwards sort of got stuck in the old school way of doing things, and you have to be willing to evolve. Nowadays you have to be innovative, because the sport of football has changed, even in college. That's why teams like Wisconsin, teams like that struggle, because they've not changed. Okay, you have to have weapons to be able to play and be competitive in college football. Okay, so so I wish Herm Edwards all the best as he goes forward. It'll be interesting to see who they hire to take that post. So here are my top 4 for college football. At number 4, I have Michigan. Michigan hadn't played anybody. They're hyping Michigan up. Average. They've scored over 50 points a game. All 3 games have been at home. They haven't played anybody. They get Maryland at home. Now Maryland will they're a Big Ten team. They will challenge Michigan because they have Tua's younger brother, Tua. But let's face it, they haven't played anybody. They haven't played Iowa yet. They haven't played Michigan State yet. They haven't played the Buckeyes yet. We're gonna find out what Michigan is or is not. I think Michigan is a fraud, and I think they'll be exposed. I have number 3. I have Ohio State. Their offense is even better than last year. I mean, C.J. Stroud. I mean, they just keep reloading with those receivers. They have running back number 3 or number 9 Williams, I think is his last name, on top of Travion Henderson. I mean, they're just absolutely loaded. Oh my gosh, they're loaded. The receivers, they have, they have. I can't think of the name. Marvin Harrison Jr. They have Smith and Jigma. They have other guys. I mean, they just reload and reload and reload. At number 2, I have Alabama. And number 2, barely over Ohio State, but number 2, Alabama's about to get into their SEC West schedule. We'll see. I mean, they have A&M out there. They have LSU out there. We'll see what Alabama is when they of course, they just beat Texas a few weeks ago. We'll see. And then, of course, number 1, prohibitive number 1, Georgia. Like I said, their offense is Stetson Bennett is amazing. They can run the ball. They have weapons on the outside. Their defense, remember, they sent five out of the 11 people on that starting defense went to the NFL, drafted in the first round, 7 overall off that defense. And they totally had to rebuild that defense. They don't rebuild, they reload down in Georgia. Let's go to the NFL. Tampa, did you see that? Did you see that fight, literally and figuratively, with Tampa and New Orleans yesterday? I miss teams, whether it's in football, basketball, whatever the sport is. I miss teams not liking each other like that, and it being very obvious. I love to see that. Okay, Marshawn, Tampa has struggled with Tom Brady at quarterback the last 4 times they played New Orleans. New Orleans has beaten them in the regular season. New Orleans defense is amazing. The score was 3-3 late in that game, and Marshawn Lattimore is riding one of Tom Brady's receivers all the way down the sideline out of bounds. And there was not a call for pass interference, and then they get in the face. Tom Brady gets in the face of Lattimore, and then Bruce Arians, the former coach of the Buccaneers, is barking at Lattimore from the sideline, and then Mike Evans just comes and knocks Lattimore on the ground. And then there's an all-out fight. They don't like each other, folks. They don't. Tampa goes on to win that game 20-10 because of Jameis Winston giving away Christmas gifts in September in form of 3 interceptions, and they don't like each other. But that was a good game. And then what about that Miami-Baltimore game? Okay, I mean, Lamar Jackson throws for over 300 yards, rushes for over 100 yards, and they still lose. They score 38 points, and they still lose the game. The Baltimore Ravens have had the worst pass defense in the last year, I believe, last year, and even this year. And for the legacy of the Ravens, who with Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and Ed Reed and all those boys that they had playing on that team, they have this kind of defense. This Ravens team is not the same as what it used to be. It just is not. And then of course we have a couple games tonight. You have Tennessee at Buffalo. I think Tennessee is in some real trouble, not just with this game, but they now see that they don't have a quarterback. They overpaid Ryan Tannehill, and they don't have a quarterback. They overpaid him because of Derrick Henry, and I think Buffalo manhandles Tennessee tonight. And then you have the Minnesota Vikings at the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it'll be another good game. Minnesota they have an offensive coach now. They have weapons, and Dalvin Cook. They have Justin Jefferson. Those LSU receivers that came out a few years ago with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that core of people that came out of off of that team, simply amazing. Simply amazing. And so here's interesting. Was interesting in terms of why there have been so many comebacks in NFL games, because even with a lot of the games yesterday, there were a lot of comebacks. Like, for example, the Arizona Raiders game. Arizona was being blanked, but Arizona came back and won that game. Miami was in trouble with Baltimore. Baltimore came back and won that game. Okay, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. They were down against the Cowboys. The Bengals offensive line, they might as well just be pieces of paper standing there being blown over by a fan. That offensive line is a joke. Now it's not helping that a lot of these quarterbacks who did not play in the preseason, okay, to play with their offensive teammates, it's showing in these first games because they look like preseason games. I believe that Cincinnati will get it together. But what's causing all of these comebacks to take place in not just in the NFL but college football? Well, here's what it is. These offenses are designed now with outside weapons like receivers, people who want to catch the ball and run. Let's face it, that's who gets all the glory. The quarterback and the receivers. That's who everybody knows. Who gets all the women. Who makes all the money. Who are sort of the glamour people, the quarterback and receivers, okay, then as well as the left tackle, but the defensive pass rusher and the corner. But there's maybe 3 or 4 elite corners in the NFL and in college football. But each of these teams, for example, when you look at Tampa, look at all the weapons they have: Julio Jones, Godwin, Mike Evans. And when Gronk comes back after he's done trick or treating or whatever to play the rest of the year, look at all the weapons. Look at all the weapons that the Rams have with all those weapons. You know, a lot of these teams have 2 or 3 or 4 really good receivers, but most teams don't have a top-notch corner. If they do, they might have one. So you have much better receivers, better receivers going against oftentimes rookies or very young corners or safeties, and the advantage clearly goes to the offense. Okay, so that's why there are so many comebacks, because so many comebacks in these games. I think it's exciting. I think it makes for great TV. So I have my top 4 for the AFC and NFC, and then I'll get to my intersection here. So in the AFC, I have at number 4, I have the Miami Dolphins. I think Miami's legit. I'm a Tua fan, and when you have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, both those guys are speed burners. I think they're going to be hard to handle. And Miami has a defense. Okay. Number 3, I have the LA Chargers. Herbert's a little banged up, has some bruised or broken rib or what have you. I have them in number 3. Number 2, the old steady Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Even though he's lost Tyreek Hill, they've not missed a beat. Still scoring over 36 a game. And then number 1, Buffalo. I have Buffalo in the AFC. I have Buffalo Bills. I actually have them winning it all. Barring a major injury to either Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs. In the NFC, I have the Green Bay Packers. I think they have some problems because Aaron Rodgers needs to be able to trust his young receivers to be able to go play and throw them the ball. And I think they missed a golden opportunity yesterday playing against the Chicago Bears, who have no offense. They have no offensive line, no weapons. Their defense is atrocious. But I believe Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest of all time. I think they get it together. Minnesota Vikings, number 3. They have an offensive coach now, and they have those weapons: Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson. You have Adam Thielen. You have the quarterback. And they have a nice defense. So they finally have an offensive, innovative coach. Number 2, have the LA Rams. I think the LA Rams will get it together. Again, Stafford didn't play during the preseason. They brought almost everybody back. I think that the Rams will get it together. They're going to be there at the end. And I think, number 1, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think Tom Brady's dealing with some personal things in his marriage. There's some reports out there about he and his wife. I pray that all is well there. But that's mine. So AFC, number 4, Miami, 3, Chargers, 2, Kansas City, number 1, Buffalo. NFC, and number 4, Green Bay. At 3rd, I have Minnesota. Number 2, I have the Rams. And number 1, I have Tampa Bay. And let's go to the intersection. And remember, my name is Eric, and you can reach me at eric@politicstalk.com. And I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can please click the share, like, follow, subscribe, or comment buttons. We'd love to hear from you because we want to know the questions that you have or the subject matter you want us to talk about. Okay, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So today we're talking about the title "Above the Law." Above the law. I want to talk about Donald Trump and these highly classified documents that he said that he declassified, that he took with him, and these contain the nuclear capability of a country. There's only a handful of nuclear capable countries on the planet. These are top secret documents that only a handful of people can even see in an undisclosed, secure location. We have to take a polygraph going in and coming out. And he took these documents home with him, and the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, reclaimed the government which is government property. Okay, and now Trump appealed. He applied for a special master to go in and review the documents, which in essence puts the government's case on hold by a Trump-appointed federal judge, and the DOJ has now appealed. Let's keep this in mind, folks, that you have innocent people that are sitting in jail cells right now because they don't have the money. They didn't have the money to afford competent representation. Money, power, and race often is a difference maker in terms of someone able to beat charges. We saw with O.J. Simpson. If he didn't have the money that he had, he was going to be convicted. I'm still convinced O.J. Simpson, even though I don't believe he was the one that actually did the killing, I believe he knows who did. But money got him out of that. Okay, and when we look at these innocent people, some innocent people that are sitting in jail, innocent people are being executed. Okay, but when we see Donald Trump, who's hiring lawyer after lawyer after lawyer, and I do not understand this blind loyalty to this man. I do not understand it. He took documents, so it's like the truth no longer matters. Where he took these highly classified the government records, okay, and anybody that doesn't believe that he didn't share them with somebody, you're fooling yourself, because Donald Trump is transactional, which means everything he does is to be able to benefit himself in some way, shape, or form. Being president makes a difference. Okay, so it's just amazing to me that nothing sticks to this man. Nothing. He's had thousands of lawsuits from contractors who performed work at his properties where he didn't pay them because of breach of contract. He was impeached. He was impeached. The first time he was tried to be impeached. The second time he was impeached. If it wasn't for a spineless Republican Senate, he would have been put out of office. Okay, all the investigations, the one down in Georgia, the one in New York. Okay, the one with his businesses, the one with the January 6th Commission, and everything surrounding that. All these investigations, and those of you that still believe that he's totally innocent, really, okay, come on now. Because if this was Barack Obama or a Democratic president, what would people on the other side of the aisle be saying? Let's call this what it is. Let's call it what it is. So it does. Being of a certain race or having a certain income level should not preclude you from having to be held accountable to the law. Being president, okay, the country you're from, or the people that you know should not matter in terms of the law. But we know that's exactly what's happening. So as we go to the challenge and the close here, here's a challenge. Let's treat everyone the same, no matter the race, sex, ethnicity, or any other factor, other than that we are all human. Let's make affordable representation in court for everybody. Let's make it affordable for everybody. Let's level the playing field. I bet you that if you have someone who's wealthy, they wouldn't settle for a public defender. Why is it fair for people who can't afford it? Why is it fair just for them to have it, but not people who are wealthy? That's not fair. The criminal justice system is set up to favor people who have money, power, influence, and race. That's the bottom line. Let's treat everybody the same. Even if it's outside the courtroom, even when we're out driving, when we see people, let's not stereotype somebody because of the color of their skin. Let's just treat everybody the same. So as we close, we thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Eric here at SpoliticsTalk.com. We appreciate you joining us. We will join you again here in 2 weeks to talk about more riveting news, sports, and politics. Until then, let's take care of each other and ourselves, and let's look to impact the lives of those that we come in contact with for the better. We thank you for joining us. Have a good night.